Hey everyone, today's video is installing the Hydros Plus Cooler Plus, which looks like this, on an older model 1 series. This is going to include older 1025s, 1023s, as well as the 1026. Now, I had mistakenly said that if your cooler looks like this, then the current product that's available would work on it. I have since learned that's not actually true. And honestly, I don't know where the cutoff is. The cutoff appears to be somewhere basically in the second gen, we'll call it a second gen 1 series, that has this particular cooler, but it has different hookups. It has hookups that are hard, that's a hard line on the right side, on that side. And then it has, basically I would say very similar to this. These are just hoses that come up to this cooler. So it has and then it has an extra metal piece that comes over and up. So this video is not for the late model, which has two, that has this particular cooler, but it connects with two lines that come up through the pan down there and connects directly in. Then there's another version that at this moment, the only one I know of is a 2016 model that has this particular cooler, but it connects differently. Thus, it will not be able to use the tubes that I send with the late model one. But this one, so what you'll need to do is look at your cooler. If it looks like this is the install video for you. Put this down here. So, and I think, we'll see if this is possible. Actually, if you're watching this, it is possible. Otherwise, I'll just throw all this footage away because I'm gonna have to do it more similarly to the late model. But the good news, I'm both excited and annoyed that this has two fittings over here that we can just unscrew, and we're gonna pull this out. And what we're going to attempt to do is put it in from the top with the ports down, and we'll have to connect this while it's out here. We'll put it through. Hopefully we'll be able to stab it into that hole. And then we'll actually have it installed with no cutting of tubes, no taking the front cap off, which really isn't that tough. Now, those of you who know, these are after the fact. I just bought some of these from John Deere, and mine usually has bolts. But all that said, we're gonna leave the battery in, and mine doesn't seem to have this strap over it. This one does have a winch on it that came with it. I bought it used, so maybe they took that strap off to put the winch on. I don't know, but it doesn't have a strap on it. So I'll just tell you what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it that way you don't have to wait through it. I'm just going to disconnect both of those hoses here. I'm going to unscrew this, and that bolt, and we're just going to lift this out, and I'll be right back. Well, that didn't go exactly as planned, and the challenge was this guy right here. With the front cap on, you can potentially get yours off. I could not, I'll say easily get mine off, and rather than fight with it and end up getting it without taking the front cap off, the front cap is pretty simple to take off, so it's there. Just like on the last one, you've got two bolts at the top, one here, one on the other side, just like that. And then you have two bolts here, two on the outside, two on the inside, and then two more here. And then you're able to just slide this baby out. Now, that's not too tough, so I wouldn't let that deter you. But what I am gonna do is I took that off, And I'm gonna go ahead and break this loose, and I'm still gonna see if I can put it in from the top without without actually having to take the front off, because that could come in handy in a situation that you wanted to swap it out, and maybe it's a little easier to swap out. I have no idea why anybody would want to swap it in and out, but maybe. The other thing is changing the battery, being able to take it out from the top without taking the cap off. You might prefer that over taking the front cap off. But I still think there's going to be enough room. We'll look at it here shortly. But let me go ahead and get this guy off. I'll go ahead and pull this off, and then I'll show you what we're doing next. All right. I got the cooler off, and it was actually quite tough. Let's see here. It was like this here. It's quite tough to take off because this tractor has spent most of its life outside. And you can see, I don't even know what this is. It's just dirt or something. But these were rusted up pretty good. And so it was actually tough to get off even without any obstructions. If yours has spent more time indoors and you've taken better care of it, then there's a good chance you'll be able to get this off without taking the front cap if you so choose. But again, front cap is super easy to take off. Now, this battery is the wrong battery. This post actually should be here, but this is a Duralast battery, and this is a what, 51-1. There's probably a version that is a 51-1A or something, what has the post on the other side. So they've got this on here, but it's oriented wrong, but that's not a big deal. We're gonna go towards the back anyhow. So this is the only line that you're gonna get with this version. There's no cutting. We're gonna connect it in here on this side, and we're gonna connect it into the bottom of the Hydros Plus Cooler Plus. We'll connect this hose directly to the cooler, and we're gonna connect the cooler here and here, as well as the stabilizer on the side. So I'm not gonna show you all of that. It's pretty straightforward. I'm gonna go ahead and get it connected up and show you what it looks like. All right, here it is installed. And when I used the stock hardware, and I will send hardware just in case you want to use it. But in order to use the carriage bolts, you're gonna have to put this on the back side, which actually would be what I would recommend. The only issue is there's a little bit of interference with these welts here. That's not gonna hurt anything, but it makes this where, you know, they're a little bit short. So I will send, I'll send some hardware that's not carriage bolts, but they will be, they'll be a little bit longer. So you'll be able to put those in there. As you can see here on the older version, there's a lot more room in between here. We still have our sliding screen, but it's a little bit closer. It's actually 1 inch out from the radiator on the late model. And the earlier models here, we've got 2 inches out. Okay, so now, let's see here. I didn't take my brush guard off, so it's a little bit funny to get in here. But as you can see, we've got our new custom hard line that connects into one of these hoses. I'd recommend the one that's closest to this side, but you could do either one. And then this one also reaches up, let's see here. Yep, and connects. And these do have a little bit of play in them. You can push them in or pull them out if you need to adjust the length just a bit. So I've got my stabilizer brace on. I mean, this thing, you can shake the whole tractor with it. It's very sturdy. And the way this goes in, there's actually there'll be a bolt that threads into this tube here. So it's a little different than the one. I tried to get one of these made. It was tougher than I thought to get made, and I may eventually get it made, but you need a punch, and it's 2 or 3 process, and then you've got this threads at the bottom, which maybe are a little slicker, but you have threads that go through, and then you have a nut versus I have a bolt coming through the bottom. So let me put the battery back on. I'll show you what it looks like all together. And with the battery in, but as I mentioned earlier, let me see if I can get here, this is the wrong battery. And so it doesn't even fit down. You can see it's kind of cocked to the side. It doesn't even fit down into the little tray. It's a little bit too wide. So if you've got the factory battery, or if you go to get a battery, get one that is the same model so that it actually fits in the right hole, and as well your negative and positive poles will be on this side versus in there. This won't hurt anything. The exception will be if you try to jump the tractor, it's going to be a little tougher to get to, but that was also true with the previous one because, all right, there it is with the battery in, and as you can see, I mentioned before, these posts should actually be out here, but even though they're inside there, still have plenty of clearance. Not going to run into the bottom of it or anything, and certainly got plenty of clearance with the new hard line. So as it turns out, the late model in this case ends up being a whole lot easier than the early model is a whole lot easier than the late model. I was going to show or attempt to show doing this from the top. I'm not going to do that because I'll let you decide if you want to do that. You're only doing this once. It's probably not worth fighting it too hard, but if it turns out that you can get those loose really easily with the stock from the stock oil cooler, then what I would do is I'd go ahead and put the stabilizer bar on, tighten it down. I'd go ahead and put the custom hydraulic line, tighten it down, and then I would bring the cooler in the top, kind of cocked to the side, connect the right hose over here to the side, the left hose to the new custom hard line, and then drop it on down, tighten these two up, and then come up from the bottom and tighten that stabilizer down, and you'll be good to go. So if you want more detail on how to take the shroud off, I've done that in another video. I'll link it here just so you can watch if you have trouble sliding this off. But again, it's just a bolt on each side on the top, and there are two on the outside, two on the inside, and two on this side, and it just basically slides straight up. Questions, comments, leave them below. Thanks for watching.